Hello, welcome back to What is Helichrysum essential oil good for? And we are talking about the emotional, the mental, the spiritual aspects of the essential oil first. If you haven't watched one of these videos before, we'll talk about that first. Then I will show you some slides with a recap on what I've said, really. Then there'll be a layout of these cards, which I'll tell you a little bit more about in a moment. Then we'll talk about the safety slides. Then Gagle will talk to you from Budapest about blending the essential oil slides. And then the end. So, these are the Tongue of the Trees oracle cards. And they are designed to bypass the conscious mind and speak to the unconscious. And I worked with Gagle Halodi on these. I wrote little poems that go with them as if the plant is talking to you. Completely channeled work. So Helichrysum is a very, very strong, emotionally strong essential oil. As you can see, I don't know if you can see actually because of my back to front, it says empathy. So I always, when I pick up Helichrysum oil, actually not the plant, oddly, usually it's the same, but when I pick up the oil, what I see is a person in a hospital corridor, and they are against the wall in the corridor and their legs buckle and they're just like this, as if there's nothing left. And then I see Helichrysum come in, sit down beside and say, I know it's absolutely shit, but if this doesn't kill you, it will make you stronger, which is such a cliche, but it really underpins what Helichrysum is about. So I always use two particular examples of this. When I first started working with Helichrysum, I didn't used to. I used to wonder why everybody raved about it. I didn't get it at all. And then I was at, funnily enough, it's Botanica this week as I record this. It's being done online, the Botanica conference. When I first started working with Helichrysum, I was at the Botanica conference in Brighton. And there was a lady who had got some wild harvested Helichrysum from Croatia. And imagine I was sitting here, her stall was here. And so I was able to watch her all day. So if you imagine, right, the colour of my top, it was the colour of my top. Her father-in-law, I think, had made these beautiful earthenware pottery bowls, but also evaporators for the essential oils. So she got all of this colour, and then her bottles are brown with this beautiful, beautiful yellow. Can you imagine how beautiful the stand was? I mean, it was breathtakingly beautiful. And there was all of these people coming up, and I mean big names in aromatherapy. And they were all making a real fuss of this stand, but it wasn't about how it looked, because I was just blown away with how beautiful it was. They were fascinated in the intricacies of what the oil was like, where it came from in Croatia. It was actually, I can't remember the name of the island, but it's off Croatia, and there's no cars on the island at all, and it grows completely wild. So people were fascinated by this. And at the same time, a friend of our family had had a horrific car accident. I mean, horrific. And she was in a coma, and it really looked like she wasn't going to live. And then she did wake up, but she'd lost her memory entirely. And that skips over a massive thing that the doctors had said she wouldn't wake up. And if she did wake up, she wouldn't walk. And they were about to turn her life support off, famously. It was in a lot of the newspapers. She waggled her toe even though she was in a coma. Her strength of character was fierce to say, no, don't give up on me, don't give up on me. And over the years, not only has she learned to walk, she's got her memory back, she's gone and got a new career, and actually in the past few days has had a baby. So this is real strong strength of character. And I was fascinated by what is it about somebody that has that absolute feistiness in their body. And I felt eventually that it must be being very, very strong sun medicine, somebody who had real strong sun placement. And so it became quintessentially linked in my mind, this idea of sun and Helichrysum that was sitting right opposite me. So, you know, these synchronicities can be coincidences, but sometimes they're not coincidences. And so I kept mulling it over. How was that connected? And the more that I looked into Helichrysum, the more I realised that it was a tremendous healer for things like PTSD. Where somebody has had a tremendous trauma and it's stuck. So imagine then my friend who had had this tremendous crash. She came out the other side changed, and I don't necessarily mean her physical side. Her personality was changed. Her understanding of what it took to be a fighter was changed. Another person that I would describe in relation to the Helichrysum journey was somebody else that I knew who had a stillborn baby. And, you know, we had been, I'll never forget the day as long as I live, really. We'd been so excited about the baby coming. And then another friend of mine had texted and said, have you heard from her? And I said, no. And she went, I'm just going to forward you the text. And she'd written that she was very sad to announce that the baby boy had been born still. Now, I think for me, that would have crushed me. I don't know how she came back from that. But what she did was she decided that her journey was to help other people whose babies were born still. And that defines Helichrysum journey so perfectly. The one can be sympathetic to these awful things, but Helichrysum understands empathy, that you have gone through it, and it forms the gold within you that defines how you experience the world from that point onwards. So let's think back then to the Helichrysum that we found in Hawara with that necklace and the earrings. Remember, 2,000 years later, it was still fragrant. And but why had it been put with the warrior? It was a warrior, we think. And what I can say to you is Helichrysum understands the sacrifices that you've made, the pain that it takes you to stand in front of somebody and become this person, this advocate for stillborn children, for people with PTSD, for people who have been in horrific car accidents and lost their legs. You cannot explain that. The only way that you can really be a tremendous help to somebody, or one of the best ways, is to have been somebody who has done it before. And likewise, imagine then if you're not lucky enough to have somebody stood by you who has had that baby die, and the rest of us don't know what to say. We don't know what to say. We want to hug you. We want to say, I'm so sorry. But every word that comes out is wrong. With Helichrysum, it says, I understand it. I have been there. I understand it. And it's exactly that same vibration as having somebody there who has been through it. And it is the wound that will not heal. You know, there is no going back from that moment. They are absolutely quintessential. You know, they smash you to smithereens, don't they? And you can be put back together, but you'll always be able to see that injury in some way, won't you? I've put down here, found in Egyptian tombs, it was used to crown the heads of victors in Roman times. It's not only victorious. Victorious is so important that it is victorious, but it understands the sacrifices that was made and the emotional cost it has taken. So I will give you another example, which is slightly different, but the same. Imagine then, so I know a pair of children who, in fact, I can think of two sets of children where one of the children has got, no, let's try again, two pairs of brothers and sisters, that's what I'm trying to say. And one of the siblings has got a disability, an illness, something that requires huge amounts of attention. Now, the nature, both of the families actually, tremendously balanced families. You know, this is not talking about the child being the good child, the healthy child being neglected in any way at all. But by the nature of the politics, it does mean that one child has to have more attention. That's the nature of the politics. So in both of these families, I can think of the healthy child has an atopic reaction. What do I mean by that? So an atopic reaction is like an allergic inherited condition. So in one family, it's a girl, the girl has tremendous eczema. I mean, unbelievable eczema. The other little girl has many allergies. She has rhinitis, and her skin flares up, and she has a lot of food allergies. The first little girl, the eczema little girl, she I watch her walking down the street, and I'm not saying that she does it on purpose, because I know that she doesn't. I've watched long enough to know that she does not know she's doing it. But as she's walking down the street with Mom, she's scratching, she's scratching, she's scratching, she's scratching, she's scratching, she's scratching. And Mom is rightly, leave it alone, leave it alone. Oh, darling, I'm sorry it's like that. Mom's gone, no more scratching. No more scratching. Less scratching, much less scratching. And I haven't watched the other little girl to know, but I suspect that these are not put on conditions. They are part of the process of being that person in that family. These are wounds that cannot heal. They cannot heal, because unless that other child, the disabled child, dies, or that would be a whole new wound, wouldn't it? The politics of, or this incarnation, it's easy to think of it as a karmic thing, whether it is or not. You know, in this incarnation, they have come to learn a very specific lesson of being the lesser recognized child, lesser noticed child. So they develop a reaction to give themselves reason to be in the parents' attention. It's not deliberate. It's not a manipulation. That's not what it is. It's just a spiritual incarnation of their disease. So if you see that, then Helichrysum becomes extremely interesting for eczema, doesn't it? For hay fever. We're treating the wound that cannot heal. There's no way that wound can get better. That will always be their incarnation in this life. And Helichrysum goes, I know, shit, innit? It really is shit. I know he's not being naughty, but, you know, they haven't been able to look at you all day. And it's not that they don't want to, it's because they haven't been able to, because he's been ill again. I know, it's shit. And remember how that's exactly what he says as the person rolls themselves into the ball when they're in the hospital corridor. I know, it's shit. The baby's born still. I know it's been shit. You know, these things go over and over again. The soldier who comes back from war with PTSD, So that should give you a good indication. And what I always say is you may read the slides and see that I've said what I've said is there, but with the way that we discuss here and we do it as an oral tradition and you listen, perhaps it will fall slightly differently with you. Perhaps you will say, yeah, well, actually, she hasn't said that, but that would relate in that way. For example, I don't know, maybe you're adopted, or, you know, or something like that, you know, where you think, well, I wonder if that's an incarnation of that. Try. Very, very safe oil to use. We'll talk about the safety in a minute, but for the moment, have a look at the slides and then I will show you how we use these cards in the spread. I'm going to run through a quick layout for you to show you the different cards. Now, one of the things that we're not going to tell you in this video, in these videos, is the poem that goes with the cards. But for this layout, we will read them to you just so that you get a chance to sort of feel how the different poems look. So I thought I'd show you the cards. As you can see, lovely little box. I'll show you the other side. Boring stuff, except for cool stuff what I read. Okay, so if we open it up, we can see that the cards just have one logo on, and that is because these originally were Gegle's cards. He's been selling these for a long time in Hungary. Mostly they've been bought by kinesiologists, interestingly enough. They've been doing the energy work with them. They haven't got any aromatherapy background, but they've been able to tap into the energetics of the oils to be able to move emotional blockages. So let's show you. So these come out nice and easy because we've got beautiful little ribbons. And let's get rid of that. So if I said to the cards, what energy do I need? What oils will help me do the best job with these videos? Let's have a... Now, my friend Belinda used these the other day, and she does have a habit of shuffling them the wrong way. So we'll have to hope that they're all the way right up. I'm not doing a good job of keeping them that way. So let's have a look. What do I need to do a great job? So I think, it's up to you how you do it, but I think cut it 3 ways, cut it back. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So first 3 cards off the top. Cedarwood Virginian. I'll tell you why I'm laughing at that in a minute. Heart Rose and Lavender. That's a beautiful blend, isn't it? Reason why I was laughing about a Cedarwood Virginian is when Gegle and I came to do the notes of all the different cards, we both went, oh, we've done these cards for Cedarwood Virginian and I don't really know how to explain them differently. And because I was doing lots of editing work, I went, oh, just leave it. So yesterday I did a meditation with Cedarwood Virginian and got the most beautiful, beautiful work out of it. So you must tap into that tomorrow, have a listen to that video and see it was really different stuff that came out. So let's have a look. So if we go to the book, we can see that there's a brown streak on Cedarwood, and that tells us it's the woods. So we find the woods. Slowly but surely we find the woods. At the back. Okay, so I'm going to use the other cards just to cover up the other pages, because you know what? Sooner or later you're going to have to pay me for something. So, Cedarwood Virginian. Actually, I'll show you this, but I'll read it to you because I'm hoping that it doesn't turn back to front on you, but it may well do. So Cedarwood Virginian says, hold strong. Don't be swayed by the winds of change around you. Stand tall. Resist the temptation to listen as the naysayers surround you. Keep focused on the job you have in hand. Remain strategic. Don't veer from tactics you've planned. Listen intently to information on the breeze. Remain determined. Your courage is what makes me pleased. Hold strong. Don't be swayed by the winds of change around you. Stand tall. Resist the temptation to listen as the naysayers surround you. Keep focused on the job you have in hand. Remain strategic. Don't veer from tactics you've planned. Listen intently to information on the breeze. Remain determined. Your courage is what makes me pleased. And I'd forgotten, I stopped halfway through because I'd forgotten this is the only one that went like around. It kept repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating. And that taps in beautifully to the determination, doesn't it? I'm keeping on reminding you. I'm keeping on reminding you. I'm keeping on reminding you. So, and actually, definitely watch the video on Cedarwood Virginian, because you'll see just how spooky that is when you see the meditation work I did. Now, you'll also see on here at the bottom of the page, there's the energetics. Now, we're not going to talk about these energetics at all in the video. You might want to go and buy our knowledge base. Now, the knowledge base is completely based on this, and it is a set of lessons on each of the aspects. So, middle to base. You're going to hear about that today when Gergely does his blending. So, that's there. It also vibrates on the throat chakra. So what does that mean? Within the knowledge base, there is a complete set of information about the different chakras. We do as a lecture on each different chakra, how it affects on the emotional body, how it affects the physical body, how it affects the mental and spiritual bodies, and how that's working. So when we're looking at the knowledge base, this information here describes how the energies move through the system. What energy shift has taken place that we are getting these different physical problems and mental issues. So we can see that Cedarwood Virginian operates on the water element and the earth element. And again, in the knowledge base, there's a complete section about, we talk about the about half an hour about the water element, then again about half an hour for the earth element, metal, fire, and whatever the other one is, gone out of my head. And then here we can see Sagittarius. Now, so that tells us that what planetary rulership it comes under. This is medical astrology, and this is actually how I see the different energetics playing out. Some people see it through the Ayurvedic, some people see it through Chinese medicine. This is always the lens I see it through. And usually we'll talk about how it's ruled by the moon or the sun or Saturn and the different trends that we see out. And when we look at an archetype like that, it's like, Jade Schutz always says, it's like a metaphor, and that's a great analogy of how you can see the thread playing out right across the medicine. And so you can see that Cedarwood Virginian is Sagittarius. So in the knowledge base, we talk about the different signs and planets and also the different houses. If I remember right, Angelica, for example, falls under the Pisces, Aries cusp. So that's really quite a difficult one to understand. There's a whole lesson about the Pisces, Aries cusp. And then, again, Chinese medicine, it nourishes yin. What does that mean? What does it mean? It calms Shen. Shen is an interesting phenomenon all in its own right. It's the consciousness, our mental faculties, our imagination, our emotions, God with a small g, God with a big G. All of those aspects is a complete lesson about Shen and how the essential oils can affect it and change that to move the energy. And then we can see it increases Pitta, reduces Vata, balances Kapha. So it's interesting, actually. I do know at the moment, all of my oils tend to come out with earth energy. It's quite interesting hearing me do the earth energy lecture, because it's entirely about the challenges I am facing at the moment. But if you are somebody who sells essential oils and you're looking for a way in all of the time, right? You're talking to the person at the school gate, for example, and you can see, she seems a healthy girl, to be honest. She's loving her kids, she seems happy. Imagine somebody who's got a really sing-song voice all the time. Oh, my darling, how did you get on today? Was it lovely? I know. And then child walks off. How are you? To everybody. If that sing-song voice never quite relents, then you can imagine that there's an earth energy imbalance. So any oils that fall under earth energy are good ones to sell. So yeah, if you are interested in learning more about that, ways in, just kind of being able to see, talking to somebody, what might be clues of what's going on of that energetic shift, then head over the knowledge base to have a look at that. So what was our next card? It was Rose, wasn't it? Queen of Roses, as you know. I do love my roses. Let's have a look. So the flowers, I think, are at the front of the book, if I remember rightly. Beautiful pink. Oh, they're both flowers, aren't they? So rose, rose, rose. Damask rose. I was thinking we'd miss Rose out, but it's not under Duff for Rose. It's under, sorry, it's not Rough for Rose. It's Duff for Damask rose. I remember writing this one, actually. This is quite sad. So it says, standing by your graveside or sobbing into your pillow, I know your pain. On the days when you feel lonely, worried or sad, I know your pain. Through the nights where sleep seems far away and you feel like you might break, amidst the anger, the confusion and desolation, I feel your pain. For I was there, remember, when you smelled the roses of their love as your fingertips stroked my petals and tried to avoid the prick of thorn. I felt your hopes, your fears, your joy of deep connection. I ensnared it in my scent to help conjure that affection. In my fragrance, remember hope. Let my aroma you complete. May scent of celebration heal you, calm you and help you sleep. For through me you are never alone, always loved and open to give and receive more. Smell me, open up and feel safe to feel love once more. Now I anticipate that these will be different for everybody, but that's entirely my dad talking to me. I feel quite choked up reading that, actually. When he died, he gave me a rose bush. My cousin works for a rose bush company, David Austin Roses. I'm sure you've heard of them. He's quite a senior manager there, and Dad arranged for a rose called Noble Anthony to be given to me and my sisters at the funeral. So I go and sit and talk to the rose bush. That's a great reminder that my dad's with me today. So that actually, Dad, that really helps. Thank you. So let's have a look at the energetics. We can see middle heart chakra, obviously. Water. Now, again, as I say, in the knowledge base, there is a much bigger lecture on water. But the energy of water is how it can flow around any obstacle and find a way to fill the space. So that's great. That's lovely. And Venus is obviously the planet of love, but there's lots more to do with beauty and money, actually. There's an interesting lecture on Venus. I like talking about Venus. Balance is Vata, Pitta and Kapha. If you don't know, Vata is very drying, Pitta is hot and fiery and moist, and Kapha is sluggish. So it brings it all into alignment. But in the knowledge base, as I say, different lectures on each of those. So it nourishes the blood. Well, I've got funny blood, actually, so that's useful to know, Dad. Thank you. Yin and essence. So yin is the feminine aspect. It's very gentle and passive and receptive, and it harmonizes the heart and Shen. We just talked about Shen. So we're going to put all these in a blend in a minute. And so last but not least, the cards have told me that I should go for lavender, which I guess is probably just over the page. Still in the pinks, as you can see. Oh, I remember this one too. Cover them up, cover them up. Can you see? There we go. Lavender's blue, dilly dilly, lavender's green. When you breathe me, dilly dilly, softly you dream. Anger and grief, dilly dilly, softly drift by. Worries and hurts, dilly dilly, kiss them goodbye. When you feel tense, dilly dilly, look for the bees. See how they buzz, dilly dilly, resting with ease. Learn from their hum, dilly dilly, for they all know. Learning to rest, dilly dilly, helps you to grow. Breathe in the scent, dilly dilly, lavender's light. Calm your stressed mind, honey, honey, surrender the fight. Release cares and worries, dilly dilly, I help you to see. Life is so good, dilly dilly, just let it be. Okay, I'm going to let them flow, not force them. This helps, this really helps, you know. I've got to tell you, when I was helping Gergley do this, he was sending me his notes, and every time they came across it, I was like, oh my goodness, I've got to do the cards. These are really hard. Didn't like my poems at all. Really found them difficult to do, and really I just wanted to be writing my Melissa book, which I kind of still do, but I'm feeling a bit happier now. I've got the cards in my hands and I can see them because they really help. Honestly, they really help. So and of course I might be biased because it's my words talking back to me, but hearing the plant and seeing it written down, it's very helpful. So actually I've probably skipped the most valuable part of the process for speed. But when you turn out your cards, if you have got the oils, I would sit and breathe the oil as you read the poem. And that's very difficult to do on this camera like this, but because then you will really hear, you'll have that connection with the plant. It will open it up to you. So top to middle note, as I say, Gergley's going to talk to us about the blending. Water, we've just talked about how that finds ways, effortlessly finds gaps to do things, doesn't force it, just gets around any obstacle. Heart chakra again. Mercury, communication, data, information. Yeah, that's very mercurial medicine. We'll talk about that. I know there's a very interesting lecture about Mercury. I originally wrote the Mercury ropes for the pain practitioner program. And so these are quite detailed lectures, about half an hour long, the medical astrology ones, because of course that's my passion. Neutral to cool is the action. Yeah, cooling like the roses. Activates chi. Now again, we'll talk about chi in the knowledge base, but basically it's the life force. And you know how we said we talked about Shen? Well, if Shen doesn't have adequate chi forcing it through, then it becomes disrupted. And I always think about it feeling like you're treading water. So the activation of chi calms Shen or nourishes Shen or raises Shen, depending on which essential oil it is. It aggravates Vata. So yes, this is one of my favourite nags. So the world tells you to put lavender essential oil into every massage oil, into your moisturizer, into your bath. So it aggravates Vata. People, it will dry you out. That is how you get dry skin. Aggravates Vata, makes you a bit vapid, a bit dreamy. So all of the time you're like, you know, like the dreamers that wander around on a cloud. If you're not careful, too much lavender makes you that. Pacifies kapha. So it stops you feeling sluggish, stops you feeling heavy. It's not really directly indicated for constipation, but that shift of energy through kapha would release not only constipation, but congestion in the sinuses. And pacifies pitta. Well, pitta is hot, so it's calming. It reduces inflammation. Anything that's red, hot, angry, it'll calm it down. So there we go. So first, I've got my smelly stick. And really this is only for, because then I can stick it down my top and you won't be able to see it. So we could use aroma pendants, we could use massage oil, sniffy sticks, whatever. This is just what works for me, and that's the most important thing, that it's the thing that works for you. So cedarwood Virginian is a fast oil, if I remember rightly. So this is quite a thin distillation. Ooh. And then we'll mop up everything off the table. Dip it up, wipe it up. Oh, it's so beautiful, it's smoky. It's beautiful, and I can tell you the lecture is about tapping into your ancestral line, and given that my ancestral line is full of wizards and witches, that's very helpful. Lots of plant healers coming to my aid. So a bit of lavender. Warm the bottle. You'll notice I cover the thing. It's not because I'm covering the labels, although it's because I can't be bothered going, don't ask me which oils I use, but it's more because it's very cold in this shed, so things get stiff, especially myrrh. Goodness me, when we come to do the myrrh video I have to warm it up 3 weeks before. And then beautiful rose. Look at the colour of that, beautiful. It's my favourite bit, you know, was it waiting for it to come out, just seeing the colour. Have I got the nerve to let it drop? I have. Go on, mix, blend. You know, whenever I try and do videos, I always want to have the image of oils mixing, and nobody ever quite videos that effectively. I think it would be beautiful. Look at that. Oh my goodness, that is sheer heaven. Just beautiful. So yeah, if you obviously want to buy the cards, there's a link underneath that tells you where to get them from. But also if you want to use the knowledge base, there's a link through to that too. And goodness me, when you start to smell that and you feel all the knowledge base opening up, all the different shifts in the body and how they move and how they're executing through the physical body, it's really extraordinary. It's a whole new layer to plant medicine. So there we go. That is how to do the blending. Can't wait for you to watch Gerdle talk about proper blending in a minute. Did you enjoy the spread? Those of you who watch these every week, you must be ready for me to say that and go, no, I'm sick of the spread. But for the newbies among you, I think it's really useful to start to understand how to use these cards and to see the poem in action, that kind of thing. For now though, let's talk about Helichrysum. And really you should have been able to grasp it when we were talking about the physical aspects. So first of all, is it safe in pregnancy? Oh, the slide says safe in pregnancy. It is after 16 weeks. Is it safe for children? Yes. A beautiful oil to use on children. Is it safe for cats and dogs? Yes, it is. So if you're going to put it in your burner, I have to say it's not really an oil for a diffuser. Bit stinky for an oil for a diffuser. The house will smell like curry, which is fine. I like the smell of curry, but it's not really. Is it safe to put on the cats and dogs? Well, if they've got like flea bites, for example, or arthritis, yeah, fine. Just use I would use like 1% dilution. Maximum dilution for an adult is 0.5%. So yeah, so actually for a cat and dog it's less than that. The reason for that is because there is a slight risk of skin irritation. If you have high blood pressure, or if you are on blood thinning medications, just use them with care. It's also, if you have a platelet disorder where your skin is already thin, use with care. But at 0.5%, it's so weak, It's not going to cause you any problems. However, if you know that you're going to go and have some surgery, lay off the Helichrysum for a couple of days beforehand, because we don't want to thin your blood anymore before you go into surgery. Otherwise, has grass safety standard, generally recognised as safe. So there is the safety. So now I am going to send you, I'll show you the slides first, just so you can copy it down. But then I'm going to send you across to Budapest to Gergely's office. And he will tell you a little bit about how he goes about blending Helichrysum. And I think it's really interesting to listen to a man talk about this oil, because it does definitely have a very masculine fragrance.
And this is the blending part of video 2 with Helichrysum, and we are talking about this wonderful plant, and the keyword is empathy. And once again we are talking about the blending with Helichrysum. Now, a couple of words about Helichrysum. If you've gone through Liz's videos, you know, for the physical and and this video that you are watching with all the metaphysical properties of Helichrysum. Just a couple of facts about Helichrysum. It is also known as immortal, which means evergreen, right? Or not evergreen as a green, but you know, an everlasting, let's say. So immortal, it's impossible to die, more or less, that you can translate it into. And the reason is because this beautiful plant really likes and loves rigid and arid environments. So hence, you find it mostly, you know, the Helichrysum comes from, probably the most famous part of the world is Corsica. And also, you know, all the Mediterranean region, Sardinia, sorry, in English, and also all the Mediterranean region down in the Mediterranean Sea, all the way down to like Croatia and the Balkans in general. And of course you find it in Italy as well, and many other parts of the world. But this is the region that really is abundant in Helichrysum. Now, once again, the reason its name is because Helichrysum loves arid environments. So that means no water, only maybe no soil, only rocks. So if you go in the Mediterranean region, you go all those rocky mountainsides alongside the sea, and then, you know, it loves the breeze of the sea, and then, you know, you find the plant, you know, growing on almost virtually on rocks, right? And loves sunshine. Now, the reason is not just this, that it really likes this sort of like very, you know, very difficult environment, is because, you know, a lot of florists use it for decoration, because once you dry the flowers, you dry the herb, the flowers stay yellow because the flowers are yellow, so they keep their color, and that's why the name immortal, it just doesn't die, right? Okay, so the plant belongs to the Asteraceae family, so or Compositae in another word, which means, you know, the marigold family. And the Latin name is Helichrysum italicum. There's a couple of species that they use for essential oils, but this is the most famous. And so you find it in Corsica, you find it all, you know, alongside the Mediterranean region. Especially, I have to say that I just got to know a company in 2019 when I was organizing the Budapest Drops Aromatherapy Festival in 2019. And one of the vendors, one of the exhibitors was this company from Serbia called Sempre Viva. And it's a family operated business on all organic lands. They produce organic essential oils deep down in Serbia. And it's operated by the family and mainly by mom and daughter, Dragica and Milica. One is responsible for the marketing and business, and also the other one is responsible for production and running the farm. There, I also have to mention, their oil is really high in italidones, or maybe I pronounce it not in the right, italidions, sorry, which is one of those magic ingredients in Helichrysum oil that you can attribute its therapeutic properties, mainly the anti-inflammatory property. And also I have to mention another friend of mine, and a great company from the Balkans. If she calls it the Balkans, but from Slovenia, and it's Jana Bergan running the Historia Botanica company, and her Helichrysum oil is just so wonderful, and not just the smell, the aroma, but really I tried it in many recipes, and I find it really effective, like mainly for the anti-inflammatory property of the oil. Okay, so if we are talking about the anti-inflammatory property of the oil, let's see what other therapeutic properties you can attribute to this oil. So it's mainly, if I really want to make circles, like finding the key areas of use, I would say mainly like skin is number one for me. So it's great for eczema, it's great for psoriasis, it's great for irritated skin rashes, and many of our recipes with Liz and myself include Helichrysum in many recipes which are designed for skin problems or skin complaints. So this includes scars. That it's number one for scars for me. Also, it is great for minor burns or even like sunburn. But many of my colleagues and esthetician colleagues use it for stretch marks, or you can use it for pruritus, which is like itching when you have like itchy skin. But it's a wonderful skin regenerator, so hence this scar healing properties. Number two for me would be the respiratory system, so like asthma, bronchitis, and other like coughs, and mainly like coughs. You could also use it for the musculoskeletal system, so like muscles, but especially great for strains and sprains, or bruises and edema. These are like maybe also on the same pole position with skin. So in general, I could call it a soothing, I could call it a rejuvenating, or and as well like a cleansing oil, because if you list all these properties, like skin, respiration, and the musculoskeletal system. And I'm not talking about the metaphysical properties, because Liz is talking about it the whole video, so I let it be with Liz. I'm talking about the physical properties. Okay, also just to mention, in phytotherapy, so like herbalism in another word, they make as an herb, they usually, or someone who uses them, typically in Mediterranean regions as well, they make a tea or a tincture from the plant, and they use it for respiratory problems, also for liver problems and skin issues. And Liz has a great book written on Helichrysum, which includes like numerous, and then I can't even list how many references and historical uses of Helichrysum, so go and check it out. You can find it on Amazon as well. amongst many offer, I don't know, 20 some or maybe 30 some books. One of them is Helichrysum. It's a wonderful book. It is a non-irritating, it is a non-sensitizing and a non-phototoxic oil, so it is pretty safe to use. But to be on the safe side, as always, you're advised to actually make a patch test before you start using it on your skin. You might find yourself allergic to Helichrysum, which is probably very rare and very exceptional. Now, because we are talking about the blending, let's look at the blending note for Helichrysum. We definitely categorize it as a base note. And when we were making the cards, and then I was checking my notes for blending, I actually made some consultation with my great friend Jan Kushmarek from Fragrant Earth, just to double check that he makes a lot of perfumes and a lot of products with his 40 plus experience in aromatherapy and formulation, product formulation, and he actually confirmed that he thinks it's also a base note. Now, if I'm looking at the blending, so what sort of, when you blend with Helichrysum, it is actually, let's look at the aroma description. First of all, I think it's a fresh note and also very herbaceous. That's for sure. Everybody would agree with that. But it is also a warm and radiant, or warm radiant note with a sweet floral up note, and you could also spot a honey-like overtone and also some earthy undertones. So it's a pretty complex aroma. So when you blend with it, keep in mind that it has basically a herbaceous base tone. All right. So when you use it, just look at that. And then if you want to use it in perfumes and natural perfumery, you can. But bear in mind that you have that herbaceous note. So it is very overpowering sometimes. So what sort of essential oils does it blend well with? Well, first of all, I could list most of the citrus oils because it is such a warm and radiant oil. It goes well with the citrus oils. That also goes well with some of the flowers like lavender or lavandin, but also I could list geranium or ylang ylang. These are all classic combinations with these oils, for example. But I could also list some of the spices like black pepper or rosemary, which is also an herbaceous note anyways. But it really goes well with vetiver, and something that is not in our cards, but I always mention some extra oils, or this is in this case is an absolute. If you have tried moss absolute, and I'm not talking about oak moss, as I mentioned in a couple of other videos, because it's not in use anymore because of the regulation by the IFRA, so the Fragrance Association. So what I can just suggest you is if you have not tried Helichrysum to blend with other oils, then go ahead and try it, and then not just because of the perfumery reasons, so that a blend becomes round, and it's because you can combine also the therapeutic properties. So it's like twofold. It depends on the goal, what you want to go for when you're blending. So if you liked this blending part and you liked our video 2 on Helichrysum, come and check us out in our recipe hub, where we are going to have, I think, probably a 13 plus recipes this time. So come and check it out for all sorts of different physical and metaphysical recipes. And until the next time that I see you in another video, I always wish you a happy blending, and see you next time.
so clever, isn't he, with his blending? I love to do when I'm doing the editing and I'm putting all of the bits and pieces that come down over the screen and stuff. I love listening to it. So just to recap then, if you have a look in the link below, you'll be able to see 2 products that may be of use to you. The first is the knowledge base. Well, first of all, actually, you can see the how to buy our Tongue of the Trees essential oil oracle cards, which are so useful for being able to just, for example, if you got somebody to do, you were trying to do a blend for eczema and you're like, I've just tried everything, and you pulled that card, or your patient pulled that card, you'd go, something I can't see. Maybe it's a twin thing. Maybe it's a trauma for a long time ago. Kind of don't need to understand it. You just kind of know, right, okay, so let's try some Helichrysum. So it's useful on that level. You'll also see there is a link to the knowledge base. Have a look at the video about that. So when we did the spread, you saw the book had got a poem, and then it had got the key at the bottom that said, is it the dosha it works on? How does it act in Ayurvedic medicine? Is it Vata, Pitta, Kapha? If it in TCM, is it which element is it? Which planet is it ruled by? We've talked about how it's sun medicine, but also ruled by Chiron. I'm not really going to go into it here, but in the knowledge base you will be able to see it. So the knowledge base is a set of videos, about 40 videos, think 45 videos, to go really in depth into those aspects. So what is sun medicine? It's about a half-an-hour lecture about not only the emotional sides, but that it's fortifying to the bones, that kind of thing. But also, so that's all the medical astrology and how we do that, but also the TCM and the doshas and the chakras, and there's a lecture about blending, a long lecture about blending. So that takes the oracle cards much deeper. Suddenly you're able to read them in a much broader way. There's also a link to the recipe hub. Now, as I said to you, this month we've added recipes in, obviously, for Helichrysum. So this week's are, as I say, an aftershave balm, because it's great for skincare generally, but there's lots of recipes in the recipe hub. It's hard to say. For women, this is much better. This is one specifically to exploit the masculine fragrance for men. There's a recipe for psoriasis, for joint pain, antiviral, fortifying lotion for after trauma, tendinitis, a lotion for bruises. Next, we have metaphysical ones. So help for somebody who has PTSD. One for mental exhaustion. There's one called Because I Have To. I remember very clearly why I've done this one. So I was trying, when I had to write these, I had to take the day off writing my book, which I was really enjoying doing. And I was like, but I don't want to do it. And Helichrysum went, I know it's shit. I know it's shit, but you've got to do it. So this is very good for being able to burn and say, right, because I have to do it. Transcending the wound that will not heal. We've gone into that in depth, you know, if that's underlying the eczema, the rhinitis, etc. It's a little way in there. And one for digging for gold. So the stillborn baby, and how we transmute that terrible pain into something golden. How do we use the oil to do that? And then there's a diffuser blend called Walk in the Meadows. And I have to say, I don't know whether that's, I think Gegle might have made that, because I don't remember doing that at all. But that's a really clever way, because it does smell like grasses on meadows. So that's all for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope that you decide to go and get the recipe hub, to get involved and really learn how to use these in ointments, in lotions, in massage oils, in diffusers, to make these essentials into really magical things, but also to use your essential oil oracle cards and to really start to understand the subtle stuff, the energetic shift that takes place when you use essential oils. And I hope now you feel more confident knowing what is Helichrysum essential oil good for.
you get your phone, you turn it this way up, and then there's a little red subscribe button. Turn it grey by clicking it, and then there's a little bell. Click that and press all at the bottom of your phone or tablet or computer. It'll say you will receive all notifications, and then there's a little hand with a thumbs up. Click that, it'll turn it blue and it says added to your liked videos, and there will be comments, and if you want to you can send a comment and say like hi's to Mum and Gerglei, and then the link to the next video will be in the description below underneath the video. So bye.